just a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. And when two lovers woo, they still say I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by.
Good morning and welcome. Yes, it's a good morning, a difficult morning because we have to say goodbye to a great man, but also an opportunity for us to celebrate a wonderful life, a wonderful friend, a wonderful teacher. Al Toutant was, of course, a beloved husband and father and grandfather and teacher and a dear friend to all who knew him. So I want to begin by expressing my personal condolences to Bernie and your entire family, who I know are going to be missing his absence most deeply. Al was such a kind and a caring and a joyful presence in our lives that he deserves to be missed. So whatever feelings you express here this morning, your tears, your laughter, are welcome and appropriate. Although this is a celebration of Al's life, it's also proper to call it a memorial service as we continue the process of letting go by remembering his life. But today is only the beginning of our celebration of Al's life and our service to his memory. We cannot possibly capture everything about him, nor should we try during our brief time together this morning. But that is okay so long as we continue to share our memories of him and speak fondly of him in the days and in the years ahead. For now, I want to begin the service with this brief prayer. I know Al loved the beauty of nature, and this is from a book called Earth Prayers from Around the World. And this is The Cycles of Life by Rabbi Rami Shapiro. Life and death, a twisted vine sharing a single root. a water bright green stretching to top a twisted yellow, only to wither itself as another green unfolds overhead. One leaf atop another, yet under the next, a vibrant tapestry of arcs and falls, all in the act of becoming. Death is the passing of life, and life is the stringing together of so many little passings. I now invite Selah Meredith, granddaughter, to come forward for a reading.
That man is a success, who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of intelligent women and men and the love of children, who never lacks appreciation of the earth's beauty or fails to express it, who follows his dreams and pursues excellence in each task, and who brings out the best in others and gives only the best of himself. Thank you.
Okay, before we have our singing, we're actually going to kindle our chalice this morning, and have invited also two of the grandchildren forward to help us with that, Ellie and Emmett. And this is something for those who aren't familiar with Unitarianism. This is part of our service each time we have a service, is we light our chalice, which is a symbol of our faith. And because Al was a longtime member of our congregation, we're going to light it today in his honor. And while Ellie lights it, I'm going to ask Emmett if you want to come forward and use the microphone, and you can read these words from a great Unitarian, Albert Schweitzer.
Yep. At times, and our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us causes to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
Thank you. We're going to sing now.
It says sung by Madeline, but if anyone would like to sing the song, Morning Has Broken, it's number 38 in your hymnal. You're welcome to sing with me. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Thank you, Madeline. Now Kathy's going to come forward, and then Emmett will follow that with centering.
Good morning, everyone. From the teachings of Buddha, and this was a piece that my father picked out. What we are is the harvest of what we have thought. It is rooted in our thoughts. It is created from our thoughts. When I speak or act with a mean or evil thought, pain follows as the wheel follows the hoof of the horse that draws the carriage. Know this, what we are is the harvest of what we have thought. It is rooted in our thoughts and created from our thoughts. When I speak or act with a good or true thought, happiness follows, softly and surely, like my own shadow in the sunlight. For hatred never ceases hatred. Hatred ceases only through love.
Now we're going to take this time for a moment of silence for my grandfather, Albert Jerome Toutant.
Thank you. I'll now invite Martha forward for another sharing.
Good morning. This morning has been a lot of me telling myself I can do this, so you'll have to bear with me if I can't. Good morning. My name is Martha, and I am one of Al's grandchildren and Kathy's youngest daughter. As you will hear many times today, it means so much to our family and to my grandpa that you are all here today celebrating his life. His influence on his community knew no bounds. My grandpa was a man of many quotes. As I reflected on how to write this speech, I was flooded with memories of hearing his words of wisdom, not necessarily realizing at the time all the different life lessons he was teaching us. One of his favorite things I'll share with you today comes from John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. While he did proudly serve his country with the Remington Raiders at Fairchild Air Force Base, I believe he felt that it was most important to serve his community. His unwavering commitment to the betterment and the uplifting of those around him is so evident through his acts of service. Whether it be the years of driving and delivering Meals on Wheels, his commitment to supporting his peers as the union president at Meade High School, or spending weekends picking up garbage in his neighborhood, Big Al always showed up. When he wasn't teaching history during the week, he spent his winters on the Mount Spokane Ski Patrol, helping those around him enjoy the activities that he held so near and dear. We have been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support we have received during this time. If it wasn't clear to me before, his impact on his community is so evident through the stories that have been shared with us and the people who have reached out. Now I can't see. In honor of Al, when we part today, let's ask what we can do for our community and continue that positive energy in his absence.
Bradley.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Jones Toutant, and I was asked to speak about my grandfather's influence as a history teacher. Unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to experience his history class firsthand at Meade High School, but I was lucky enough to learn some history from him. Growing up, when he came to visit my family and I in Seattle, he would talk to my brother and I about a bunch of different major historical events, from the Revolutionary War in colonial America to the importance of Pearl Harbor. I found these lessons to be very influential in my life as I went on to become a history major at university. But his influence as a history teacher became most apparent to me when I was a college athlete and I was getting ready to compete at a track meet in Arizona, so nowhere near Washington. I was checking in for my event, and as the official read out my full name off the list, he said that he recognized my last name because it was the same last name as his favorite history teacher in high school at Meade High School in Spokane, Washington. So of course I told him that was my grandfather, and Grandpa laughed really hard when I told him that story. But it was at this moment that I realized just how influential he was as a history teacher, and I just feel incredibly grateful to have learned from him. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Good morning, my friends and fellow Americans. What is in the news today? When I learned that this was Al's usual greeting to the high school students he taught for 30 years straight, I immediately thought of how fortunate the thousands of students he taught over those decades had been, and I wished everyone in our country could have had him as a teacher. There's so much packed in this simple statement, which I'm sure was Mr. Toutant's point in repeating it so often. First, it implies that no matter who we are, how different we might be, what we look like, where we're from, what we believe, we can all be friends and fellows and should consider each other as such. It implies that no matter our status, what role we play, what position we hold in our communities, just as in the classroom, in his classroom, there is something fundamentally equal about all of us. And it implies that for us to be friends, we need to be curious, not only about the world around us, but about each other, about everything. Good morning, my friends and fellow Americans. What is in the news today? What are you interested in? What's important to you? How fortunate his students were and how fortunate, as Ellie just pointed out, that we as a society have so many of his graduates whom he influenced living among us, still putting those same values into practice, as well as passing them on to others. Al may be gone, but his good impact in our community and upon the world is going to continue rippling forward forever. And I'm sure this openness toward, respect for, and care of others are among the values that drew Al and Bernie to our Unitarian Church so long ago. Our first principle is the commitment to the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And I can't think of anyone who has demonstrated it better than Al and Bernie, who joined our congregation almost 50 years ago in 1975. Al may not have begun all his conversations here the way he did in his classroom, but he didn't have to say those exact words, because no matter what he said, the same sentiment was always there. Joanne Christopher, who calls Al one of her favorite human beings, says, "He taught me much and always treated me and others with dignity." Last weekend, I happened to stay with a former couple from our church while visiting what is now their congregation in Kalispell, Montana, Clay Evans and Charlotte Street, who were saddened to learn of Al's passing. Clay immediately referred to him emphatically as a class gentleman. He was such a class gentleman. And Charlotte said, he was so sweet. Then we all agreed that the entire Toutant family is welcoming and kind-hearted. I don't know if that's something you learned or if it's genetic, but it sure seems so. Clay and Charlotte told me about the wonderful fun that they used to have with your family. Your family's coming together for a day on the lake, and recalled how much fun your kids enjoyed and how generous Al was during those visits with his time. And Peggy and I, along with our daughter Cassidy, when she was still in high school, got to experience a few of those days on the lake too. So thank you so much for that. And we also remember them not only for the fun that we had, but especially Al touring us around in his boat, but mostly for the hospitality and warmth that we felt from both Al and Bernie. And of course, most of our interactions have been here at church, especially on Sundays. I've been here for more than 12 years now, and right up until he was no longer able to come, I had the great pleasure of regularly experiencing Al's kindness, his warmth, and his care. He really was, as Clay said, such a gentleman. He dressed like a gentleman, and he spoke like a gentleman. Sometimes he discussed what I said in my sermons, but always followed up with the utmost appreciation, saying, "You do such a good job for us, Todd. We're so fortunate to have you. Thank you for all you do." Every time. And toward the end, as his memory started to go, he couldn't track my sermons as well as he once did. But his personality was still fully present, and he made it a point to stand in that receiving line until he could firmly shake my hand and say, as he always had, "You do such a good job for us. We're so fortunate to have you. Thank you for all you do." I'm sure this is what made Al such a beloved and effective teacher. The word educate means to draw out. Rather than trying to stuff information into their heads, Al worked to draw out the best in his students, along with their own curiosity, by treating them as friends and equals, and inspiring them to want to understand others and the world around them. As Candy Gremler, his student in 1980, says, "I remember his greeting every morning in class. I wasn't much for reading the newspaper. It was always confusing and frustrating. Even then, But Mr. Toutant made it fun, and I learned a lot about being a world citizen. I imagine Candy also learned some history from her history teacher. But as far as our society is concerned, learning to become a world citizen is so much more important. So we've not only benefited from Al's presence in the world, but also from Candy's. And I'm sure the presence of so many other of the students he influenced. How many of you here were Al's students? Do you mind raising hands? Quite a few, quite a few. I have great memories of my high school days at Meade, and Big Al Toutant was a happy part of my time there, says another of those students, Dan Erb. Thanks for inspiring us to learn and think, Mr. T. You were one of the best. And Karen Prowse says, Mr. Toutant was one of my favorite teachers at Meade Senior High class of 1970. What a great man, what a wonderful sense of humor that all his students appreciated. That's high praise to be remembered so fondly by your students. One of my favorite thinkers, the great social psychologist Erich Fromm, said that the most fundamental kind of love that underlies all types of love, the root of all kinds of love, is the sense of responsibility, care, respect, knowledge of any other human being, and the wish to further that person's life. This is how Al treated the people that he loved, by nurturing them, respecting them, understanding them, and drawing out the best from them. It's also how he treated the things he loved, like the beautiful mountains and lakes of the Pacific Northwest. He got intimately involved with them as an avid boater, a skier, a bicyclist, an activist who helped maintain them and care for them, as you heard, joined the ski patrol and taught skiing to others. Loved taking people out on the lake and having them join him for a bicycle ride through the trails and countryside. That's what love is. It's not a sentiment. It's taking responsibility and caring for the things and the people that we love. Al loved our congregation in this way, giving of his time and his treasure over the years. But I think that his greatest expression of love for our church, by which I mean his care, respect, knowledge of, and wish to nurture and further our lives together, was far more subtle than anything he ever did or said. As in the classroom, Al drew the best out of us, not by telling us what he thought or telling us what he expected of us or how we should do things or what we should think. He simply greeted us with a friendly handshake and a sincere smile. Hello, my friend. Rather than instructing us, he thanked us for what we had done. Rather than telling us to improve, he embraced us as we are, friend and fellow. So I'll stop there because there are others ready to speak who knew Al much better than me. But I miss our brief interactions on Sunday mornings and will always be grateful to have had the good fortune of knowing Al Toutant. If he were here, I'd want to tell him, you did such a good job for us. We were so fortunate to have you. Thank you for all you've done. I'll now invite Mike to come forward.
Good morning. My name is Mike Toutant, and one of the many Mikes here. And I'm Al's younger brother by 8 years. So you got to kind of keep that in mind as I tell some of these. They'll make more sense. But there were 4 siblings. Al was the oldest. My sister Susie was about 4 years younger, and she's represented here by her 2 sons, Chris and Michael. And I was next, once again, 8 years younger. And we have another sister who's about 3 years younger than myself. So there were 4 of us, but we were well spread out. So the amount of time that I really spent with my brother, it wasn't the typical, 2 guys hanging out, because, like I said, when he was 12, I was only 4. But okay, I'm going to tell a few little incidents that I remember from growing up. The first incident I don't even remember, but it's been related to me many times by my older sister Susie and my mother when she was alive, that when I was 1 or 2 years old, I was watching my brother playing checkers with another fella. And as a 1 or 2 year old, I thought one of these checkers would probably taste pretty good. So I put it in my mouth and I started choking on it. And my brother, who at the time was about 10, had the good sense to pick me up upside down, this before we knew Heimlich and that, and smacked me on my back. And the checker came out and the checker game continued. And I'm forever grateful for that. Al had a bit of mischief in him. One Sunday, I'm not sure, again, how I ended up being part of this, but he brought me to the movie theater with him and a buddy. And they're probably 12 or 13 years old, and I'm 8 years younger. And what I didn't know is that they came ready for some trouble. They each had a water pistol tucked into their clothing. And while the darkened movie theater's going on, people are, what's and this went on for 15, 20 minutes. I wasn't even aware of it. They were so sneaky about it. And all of a sudden, an usher appeared, flashlight in hand, and said, "Follow me." So the 3 of us went to the office, and my brother's friend, offered up his squirt gun. And they said, "And how about you?" He said, "I don't have nothing on me." And they kind of searched him a little bit, and they found nothing. So they told the one guy, "Get out of here, don't come back, and you 2 go back and watch the movie." So we did. And later on, I said, "Didn't you have a squirt gun too?" And he said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "But when I saw the usher coming, I dropped it on the floor and kicked it under the seats." Okay, so I thought pretty clever. So let's see. As Al got older, so did his mischief. One day, he was working at a local grocery store, which was called Wrigley's, and he's probably 16 years old, and he told my parents he's going to bring a couple of his buddies from Wrigley's over. And so, sure enough, I'm sure it was a Sunday, they came over, and the plan was like to go down the basement and play ping pong and eat potato chips and what have you. Well, there were 3 fellows his age, and another one who really got my attention was a 27-year-old dwarf. And I'd never seen a 27-year-old dwarf before, so I'm sure I stared. And anyways, they went down the basement and had their fun and what have you. And I thought later, boy, that was really nice of my brother to include, this fellow who really didn't have much of a social life. So it was only later I found out that besides, George was kind of nice to be with, he could buy beer. So that was a kind of interesting relationship for a year or so. When Al returned from basic training in the Air Force, he proudly displayed a tattoo. It was innocuous. It was the U.S. Air Force, 1957 or something like that. And but you got to understand, in those days, having a tattoo was more akin to a ritual that would be associated with like the Hells Angels than a future teacher, as opposed to today where everybody's got a tattoo. So anyways, he all the time that he taught, he always wore long sleeve shirts because he did not think that having a tattoo was the kind of image that he wanted to project to his students. And it was only after he retired that he decided, I think I'm going to get rid of this. So the tattoo that cost him $20 in 1957, I'm told cost $1,700 to have removed, and he told me it was much more painful. So, but the 2 influences that made Al the man we all know today was his military service, and more importantly, his lovely wife, Bernie. The loving care that he received from Bernie, his children, and their spouses, the grandchildren and friends, was very comforting to me because I was 2,000 miles away. Even more during the last several years, Bernie was the wind beneath his wings. Al was a great friend and the best brother I could ever hope for. His was a life well lived. Thank you.
Yes, I am the other Mike Toutant. Well, I didn't prepare anything, just going to freestyle. So, thank you, Dad, for all your kindness. And thank you for getting us up in the morning to, every morning early to, kids, it's daylight in the swamps. Rise and shine. Let's see, what else? It's not going to be much. My brain is going away here. And well, thanks for showing Cash Stone all those wrestling moves back in the day at Meade High School. And so we were able to go to state back in the day and win state in wrestling. It won't mean a lot to everybody, but a few people. Well, that's really all I've got. It hasn't been said any better than what I could say right now. And Dad, I really love you. And Mom, I love you too. Sisters, grandchildren of Al, my nieces and nephews, nieces, love you all. And I will go ahead and depart.
Hello, everyone. My name is Geneva. I'm the oldest grandchild of Al and Bertie. Again, thank you all so much for being here today to celebrate the life of my papa. This past month, I've had so many times where I have thought back on my papa and how fortunate I was to have so much time with him. All of my memories of him have been filled with so much love. I read a quote recently that said, "Love is the soul's music. All its songs are symphonies." And as many of you know, my grandparents have been longtime supporters of the symphony, so I felt this quote was especially fitting. The more memories I've gone over, the more I realize that my papa has given me and all of us such special gifts. He has written us the most wonderful symphony of love. One that is made with the sound of his laughter, the swish of skis on a mountain, a Benjamin Franklin quote, a checker piece moving across the board, the sound of a boat gliding along the lake, and more than anything, his love. His love for my grandma, his love for his family, his love for his friends, but so much love. I will never play a game of checkers without remembering sitting on my papa's lap as he showed me how to play, and I eventually beat him. I will never go skiing again without thinking of my papa holding my hands as I learned how to ski and go down the hill. I will never go to the symphony without seeing him sitting next to me smiling, sometimes sleeping. And I will never stop missing him with all of the love in my heart. My grandfather's symphony of love has reached so many people, touched the lives of so many people, and will continue to be shared and passed down as time goes on. It's these stories and all these memories that he has left us with that will continue to be the music in our hearts as we think of him and play the melody of his soul in all that we do and all that we are. I'm so overwhelmed with happiness to have known him, and I'm so grateful to have been his granddaughter. This is my ode to my papa. I probably won't be making as many jokes as everyone else. So there's my joke. My grandfather was so many things to so many people. To his family, a loving, caring, funny person that we could go to make us happy. To his friends, someone to talk to and laugh with, maybe even let down a guard or two. My grandfather was an amazing person inside and out. It's so hard to imagine life without him. We are all here to remember a life of someone who lived a good one. I didn't get to meet him until a little bit later into his life, but he was such a great person to be raised around. I'll be showing everyone his yo-yo tricks, maybe a few magic tricks with his fingers. I don't know how it goes, but something like that. A memory I have of my grandfather is when he used to go to my elementary school when I was in kindergarten to show us some yo-yo tricks, maybe read us a book or two. I loved it when he would come into class. It was just my favorite part of the day. In high school, my grandparents would pick me up every day when my parents were still working. We'd go on adventures, like seeing a tiny house I was obsessed with. Or just take little drives. There's this picture my papa kept on his phone. It was, I think when I was in middle school, and it was 4th of July, and it was just me, him, posing for a picture. He kept it on his phone, so I could tell it was important to him. So it was important to me. We all have our own memories of my papa. Maybe here at the Unitarian Church, or at Meade High School as a coworker or a teacher. Maybe on the ski slopes of Mount Spokane or 49 degrees north. I know that my papa will live in our hearts and minds for eternity. And we'll all grieve in our own ways. But it will never be the same. Papa, I miss you. Oh, sorry. And I hope you found peace. As I know near the end you were in so much pain. And I know you're in a better place now. Love, Miss Eva.
Don't worry about this, it's large print. This is such an honor to pay tribute to Al and to the family. Thank you for this opportunity. Teachers who are lucky enough to come to Meade High School or Meade School District soon learn to appreciate the contributions of many who came before. Our predecessors left a legacy of courage, tradition, and a wonderful teaching environment. You've heard the names: Cash Stone, 40 years of championship wrestling; Carla Nuxel, MEA president who went on to state and national polls; Greg Schultz, who coached winning speech and debate; Pat Tyson, whose runners dominated the GSL. Well, I could go on. Patty Inman, who sacrificed 6 months of freedom in the name of principle and peace. My list of heroes could go on, and any such list of master teachers, coaches, and leaders would surely highlight Mr. Al Toutant, teacher, leader, and yo-yoist extraordinaire. I came to the Meade School District in 1974. I was happy to be here, much relieved to have a job. We came out from Minnesota with a car and $1,000 in 1974. That didn't go far. There was a lot of good teaching going on. And I noticed the teachers seemed to get along with students pretty well, but not with each other. There was a malaise lurking around the district, and it took a while to figure out what it was. Those of you who are here already know where I'm going, I think. What I was experiencing, of course, was the palpable remnant of a strike that was ignited in the previous year when Meade teachers staged one of the first teacher strikes in Eastern Washington. The strike led to good things. It also yielded some emotional bumps, bruises, and resentments that come with any situation when negotiations stall and both sides come out swinging. The challenge was to move on and let go, and that's where Al Toutant stepped up. Al made a profound contribution to bringing our staff back together and treating each other with the respect that they deserved. Some of my new teacher co-workers had gone out on the picket line. Others, with good reasons of their own, were not ready to take that step. But no matter what their choices had been, everyone encountered some form of collateral anger. Parents were angry at teachers. Teachers were frustrated by administrators. Patrons felt their students ill-used by the closure. And there was even a threat of jail time, and that didn't make any of us very happy. After the strike, there was an abundance of muttering. So peace proved difficult, even after the sides officially settled. Friendships were strained. It was time for healing and civility. And in those years of building and rebuilding, nobody was more civil or diplomatic than Big Al. At a time that desperately called for leadership, Al stepped forward as a skilled and respected negotiator, MEA officer, and teacher representative. In the midst of those difficult challenges, our district began to heal. When teachers faced difficulties, Al came alongside, defending both the teacher and due process, seeing to it that fairness was preserved for both sides. Al was a politician in the best sense of the word. He was able to negotiate compromise that left parties on both sides of the house feeling heard and ready to move on. And he was among one of the best listeners I've encountered in this lifetime. His responses were cogent and to the point. I had the good fortune to remain in the district for 30 years. And in that time spent many hours with Al, both at school and MEA and WA events across the state, and better yet, on the ski hills. He encouraged me to teach better, negotiate better, and I like to think to ski better. And in fact, one time I nearly caught up with him. He was just a thing of beauty. It was a sidestep, but he just had this form, and he made the turn with just a do you know what I mean? I guess you had to be there, and I'm sorry, I digress, but gosh, I miss that. So it was MEA's good fortune to have Al as a friend and a teacher and a leader. I'm assured that his model of teaching, negotiating, and friendly respect for others will continue to stand for years to come, and that Meade will remain an extraordinary place to teach, learn, and support one another. And then one more thought. I thought about mentioning this morning. Many of you are teachers, or you're connected to our public ed system, which Al treasured. You're no doubt aware that there are those these days whose goal is to take control of what is taught, how it is taught, and worse, what is not taught. It's a nationwide effort, and it appears that Meade is among the targets. So this would be a good time to get involved. I know Al would appreciate your courage and commitment. Ask yourself, what would Al do? Thank you.
Thank you. And we're accustomed to having the altar calls in the Baptist church, not the Unitarian church. But We'll let it slide for Al. Before we sing our closing song together, we're going to, that's going to be followed by a benediction and a postlude. I would like to invite all of you to remain seated for the postlude for just a little bit. One, you'll enjoy it, but also I want to give the family an opportunity to get back to the reception area so they can be there before everyone else is ready to move that way too. So after our benediction, if you'll just remain seated for a bit, and then we'll escort the family. But right now we're going to sing a song, one more song together, and I think it's an appropriate one for given Al's love for boating in the water.
Thank you. Yes, it's a little bit of a change. We're going to sing Blue Boat Home. It's in the hymnal, the turquoise one, 1064. I think it's also going to be up here. Would you like to stand and sing? It's been a pleasure to hear about Al, and thank you so much for letting me sing for this. Here we go. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens and a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Hello, I'm reading a piece, that my father picked out for his service to those I love. When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have many things to see and do. You must not tie yourself to me with tears. Be happy that we had so many years. I gave you my love, you can only guess how much happiness you gave to me. I thank you for the love you each have shown, but it's time I traveled on alone. So grieve for a while, if grieve you must, then let your grief be comforted by trust. It's only for a while that we must part, so bless the memories within your heart. I won't be far away, for life goes on, so if you need me, call and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I'll be there. And if you listen with your heart, I'll hear all of my love around you soft and clear. And then when you must come this way alone, I'll greet you with a smile and welcome you home.